I was under the church basement sink, tightening a rusted valve, when my phone buzzed in my back pocket. Figured it was another missed call from a customer, or maybe a parts delivery delay. I wiped my hands on my jeans, pulled it out, and there it was. We changed the locks. Don't come back. Let's see how tough you are now. Ha ha. It was from Marie. I just stared at the screen like it might change if I blinked hard enough. My stomach twisted. My first thought wasn't even anger. It was confusion. I actually said out loud, "No way." Then I read it again. My wife, the woman I'd built a life with. She thought this was funny? I packed up my tools in silence, got into my beat-up Ford van, and just sat there in the parking lot behind the church. I had nothing on me. No wallet, no spare clothes, barely a quarter tank of gas. The damn transmission couldn't even hold second gear without shaking like a washing machine. That night, I parked outside a 24-hour diner off Route 27. I didn't go in, I couldn't, not to eat, not even for coffee. I curled up in the back seat with my tool bag under my arm like a pillow and stared at the diner lights bleeding through the windshield. I didn't sleep, I didn't cry, I just kept staring at that message. Second night, same thing. I walked into the gas station next door and got a bottle of water and a pack of crackers with change from under the seat. The cashier looked at me like I was homeless. I guess I was. I checked my phone maybe 50 times. Nothing. No follow-up, no explanation, no apology. Marie had always had a sharp tongue. She didn't sugarcoat anything. But this was different. This was ice cold. Like I never meant a damn thing to her. Quick note, before we go further, share which city or country you're watching from. Looking back, I should have seen the signs, the little digs, the way she started locking me out of decisions, not just financially, emotionally too. Conversations stopped being conversations. They were updates, orders, corrections, and then nothing at all. Third morning, I was about to head back to the church just to have something to do when an email pinged on my phone. Subject line, urgent, call me. It was from Harold Lawson, our old family attorney. He'd handled my dad's estate years ago. The body of the email just said, "Call me immediately. There's a serious issue." That email snapped something in me. I sat up, heart pounding. Serious issue? With what? With Marie? With the house? I turned the key in the van's ignition. It took 3 tries to catch, but it did. I didn't know what I was about to step into. But I knew this. Nobody was going to hand me my life back. I'd have to take it. I got to Harold's office an hour later. His building hadn't changed much. Same cracked leather chairs in the waiting room. Same dusty window blinds. He looked older, though. We both did. He didn't tell me much yet, just said we'd need to gather documents, go back through business records. But before any of that, he said, "I need you to start from the beginning." So I did. Marie and I had been married 14 years. We met not long after my dad died. He passed from lung cancer just before Christmas. The man could fix anything. Dishwashers, heat pumps, you name it. I used to follow him around with a flashlight while he worked, handing him wrenches and listening to him curse in low tones so my mom wouldn't hear. When he passed, the business came to me. It wasn't a gold mine, but it paid the bills. My first few months running it solo, I worked sunup to sundown, trying to keep every client he had. That's when Marie walked in. Her dad needed a new AC unit. I did the install myself. Marie worked the front desk at a medical clinic, always dressed sharp, always polite. She had this confidence about her that I liked. She smiled like she already knew you were gonna like her. And damn it, I did. We started dating right after I finished the job. Within a year, we were married. She moved into my place, helped me organize invoices, even rode along on a few jobs early on. She said she liked being part of something real. Then her mom died. That's when Craig entered the picture for real. He was the kind of guy who looked like he was always heading to a board meeting, even when it was just a family BBQ. Polished shoes, tailored blazers, Bluetooth in his ear, like he was waiting on $1 million call. I never liked him. Marie changed after her mom passed. She started leaning on Craig more than me, asked him about business ideas, let him talk to Maddie about school and money and future planning. He started showing up uninvited. I'd be elbow deep in a furnace repair, and there Craig was, leaning against the counter with a coffee like he owned the place. When Maddie was born, he got even more involved. Bought her a custom crib before I could even afford the car seat. Just helping out, he said. But it never felt like help. It felt like control. Meanwhile, the business started struggling. Bigger outfits moved in, chains that undercut my prices and offered slick online booking systems. I tried to shift to smart home installs, cameras, thermostats, door sensors. But those jobs needed capital, and we were running on fumes. Every dollar went back into keeping the truck running or keeping Maddie in school clothes. Marie and Craig started circling me like vultures. "You need to sell, Alan," she said one night after Maddie went to bed. "You're killing yourself for peanuts." I said no. That shop was all I had left from my dad. Her tone got mean after that. She started calling my work grunt labor. "All you do is fix other people's messes. When are you going to fix ours?" That one stung. I went outside that night and sat on the steps with a beer, staring at the van like it might give me an answer. She stopped asking for my opinion, started giving me updates instead. Craig and I talked, and Craig says this would be smarter. Always Craig. The more I resisted, the more distant she got. I'd come home to silence. No dinner, no hello. Just her typing at her laptop or on the phone with him. I became a ghost in my own house. And the worst part? I started to believe maybe I was holding them back. It started with a dinner Marie actually cooked, first time in months. Chicken parm and a bottle of cheap red wine. I should have known something was off. She smiled too much, talked soft. Said she and Craig had come up with a plan to modernize the business. "You're burning yourself out, Alan. This'll give you room to breathe," she said. I'd been so worn down, so damn tired of fighting, I didn't push back. She had the paperwork already printed. Craig's name was nowhere on it, just some LLC based out of Delaware. 49%, she said. "Still yours. We just make it look cleaner for taxes." I signed it. Like an idiot, I signed it. At first, nothing changed. I still ran the jobs, answered the calls, kept the van rolling. But then the contract started disappearing. Regulars ghosted me. A big HVAC install for a local bakery got canceled out of nowhere. When I called the owner, he said, "Didn't your office say you were shutting down?" I checked our website. Gone. Just a blank page with a 404 error. The company number went straight to voicemail. Our business listings on Google and Yelp all redirected to some slicker company I'd never heard of. That's when I looked closer at the shell company I'd signed over to. It was now a subsidiary of Craig's tech firm. He'd reabsorbed the business, legally, completely. My dad's name wasn't even on it anymore. I came home shaking, walked straight into the kitchen, tossed my keys on the counter, and slammed the paperwork down. "What the hell is this?" I said. "You two stole it." "You stole everything." Marie didn't even flinch. She was pouring herself a glass of wine. Looked at me like I was overreacting. "It's time to move on, Alan. You were never going to grow that place. You were stuck. I was running it. I built every damn client relationship with my hands. You think Craig can do what I do?" She took a sip and shrugged. "He doesn't have to. He builds systems. You build..." Whatever this is, I didn't sleep that night. I paced the living room like a caged dog. Thought about calling the cops, a lawyer, anyone. But my name was still technically on the house, so I stayed. Or so I thought. Couple weeks later, I went to buy groceries. Debit card declined. Tried again. Same result. I logged into our bank app. Locked out. I called Marie. "Oh yeah," she said. "I moved the account. Needed more budgeting control. Don't panic, the mortgage is still getting paid." "I'm paying it," I yelled. "That's my money." Correction, it was your money. Now it's for the household. And I managed the household. I hung up before I threw my phone across the parking lot. Things with Maddie got worse. She was 12 going on 20, glued to her tablet or locked in her room, barely looked at me. One night, I offered to help her with homework, and she said, "Uncle Craig said I should use the tutor app. It's more advanced than your way." I didn't say a word. I just stood there in the hallway while she shut the door in my face. I called Harold from the front seat of my van, still parked outside the house after Marie locked me out, toolbox sitting in the back, my whole life stripped to rusted-out metal and old invoices. He picked up on the second ring. "Come in," he said, no hesitation. "We've got a problem, and it's bigger than you think." His voice didn't have that calm, lawyerly tone I remembered. He sounded pissed. I drove straight there, no detours. Sat across from him in his office, still smelling like old copper pipe and motor oil. He didn't waste time. "Alan, I've been digging into the transfer filings. Craig didn't just dissolve your business, he rewrote your father's intent." I frowned. "What do you mean rewrote it?" The will was clear. My dad left it all to me. Harold nodded slowly, then slid a folder across the desk. Inside were two versions of my dad's will. One with my name listed as sole beneficiary. The second had both me and Marie. Equal split, dated 2 months after my back surgery. "That's not real," I said. "That's not his signature." "Oh, it is your dad's signature," Harold said. "But this version was submitted after probate closed. And look at this." He pointed at the notary's stamp. "This notary lost their license 5 years before that date." I blinked. My head started to spin. "You were in the hospital, right?" he asked. "Recovering?" "Yeah, back surgery, herniated disc. They had me doped up for days." Harold leaned forward. "They pulled the change while you were out of your mind on painkillers." "Alan, that's fraud. And not small time either. We're talking jail time fraud." I just sat there. I couldn't speak, couldn't think. "They needed your signature," he continued. "And I'd bet good money Craig had you sign something buried in a stack of discharge forms. Marie probably handed it to you herself." I wanted to puke. Instead, I stood up. "What do you need?" I asked. "Everything. Emails, old invoices, tax filings, vendor statements, anything that ties your name to that business, and copies. Don't keep the originals on you." I left his office like my legs were moving on their own. Drove straight back to the house, heart pounding, hands on the wheels so tight my knuckles ached. I needed my toolbox, my binders, anything from the old filing cabinet I kept in the garage. That stuff went back 10 years. Dates, serial numbers, payment slips, all proof. I parked across the street. The house looked smaller somehow. The blinds were drawn. The porch light was off, even though it was nearly sunset. I texted Marie once. "I need to pick up my tools and binders. I won't step foot inside." No reply. 5 minutes passed, then my phone lit up. "Come near the house again and I'll call the cops." No please, no explanation, just a threat. I stared at the screen. For a second, I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was unreal. This was the woman I built a life with, the mother of my kid, now treating me like some drunk ex showing up to cause trouble. I put the van in reverse and backed out, but not before I took one last look at the garage door. Behind it was 20 years of my life, tools my dad used, binders full of jobs I'd done with pride. And I couldn't even grab a damn screwdriver without being treated like a criminal. Fine. If she wanted war, she could have it. I drove to the UPS store, bought a scanner, and started pulling old files from my email archive that night. Customer quotes, photos of jobs, digital signatures, tax returns. Bit by bit, I started building my own damn case. They thought they buried me. Nah, I was just getting up. I was living out of Greg's shop by then. He was an old friend from high school, ran a tire and brake joint off Route 9. Let me crash in the break room for a week or two, which turned into a month. There was a busted recliner wedged next to a mini fridge, and I used a stack of old shop towels as a pillow. Showered at the gym down the street. Worked part-time on oil changes just to keep gas in the van. I kept my files in a fireproof lockbox under Greg's desk. My backup drive, my laptop, my job logs, all of it. I was running on fumes, eating gas station sandwiches, falling asleep with my boots on, waking up to the sound of impact wrenches and air compressors. But I was clawing my way back, one invoice at a time, until the night I came back and saw the front door wide open. It was past midnight. Greg had gone home. I pulled up and saw the shop light still on, door hanging open like someone forgot to lock it. I walked in slow. The drawers were open, lockbox gone, laptop gone, backup drive gone, even my damn spiral-bound job log, the one with my handwriting in it. I just stood there, not yelling, not moving. Just this quiet, growing pressure in my chest, like my ribs were folding in on themselves. Greg showed up 20 minutes later in sweatpants and boots. Looked around, confused. "No sign of forced entry," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "The locks are old as hell. Landlord never changed them after the last guy left." I nodded. Right. We both knew what that meant. I didn't have proof. No cameras, no eyewitness, no fingerprints. Just a big gaping hole where my fight had been. Next morning, I called Marie. She answered on the second ring. I didn't even say hello. "You had someone break in." Luckily, I still had digital backups and old emails and tax records Harold already copied. The thieves didn't get everything. Then she said, flat as concrete, "Maybe now you'll stop pretending you're some kind of victim." She hung up. I stared at the phone for a long time, fingers itching to throw it through the wall. But what would that fix? 2 days later, Harold called again. I hadn't told him about the break-in yet. Didn't matter. He had bigger news. "Alan, listen," he said, voice tense. "The SEC and IRS are both investigating Craig. Turns out you weren't the only one he screwed over. It's bigger than just you." "What do you mean bigger?" I asked. "There are investors involved. Wire fraud, falsified earnings. The feds think he used your business to launder some of the early money through legit cash flow. You were a pawn." My stomach dropped. "He used my name to cook his numbers?" "Exactly," Harold said. "They raided the office this morning. Seized everything. Computers, phones, storage devices. Your documents might still be in the system. Marie? She was there. Cooperating. At least that's what they say. But this is the kicker. Your testimony could tip the scales." I leaned back in the chair and looked up at the ceiling. The paint was peeling. The air smelled like burnt rubber. "I don't want revenge," I said. "I know," Harold said. "You want your name back." That hit harder than anything, because he was right. I didn't care if Craig went bankrupt. I didn't care if Marie lost her designer bags or her country club friends. I just wanted to clear my name and look my kid in the eye again. So I told him, "Whatever you need. I'll testify. I'm all in." Marie agreed to meet at Harold's office the following Monday. I got there early, sat in the lobby staring at the same potted plant I'd kicked over when my dad's will was first read, years back. Felt like a different life. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. No makeup, hair pulled back in a cheap clip. She wore a wrinkled sweater and flats. The designer bags were gone, the fake confidence too. Her eyes were puffy, and when she sat down across from me, she didn't look up right away. "I didn't know it was this bad," she said, voice quiet. Harold cleared his throat. "They're saying you knowingly signed fraudulent business filings, Marie. That you helped your brother misrepresent earnings. That you pushed Alan out deliberately. I didn't," she said, looking at me now. "They're saying I signed things I didn't understand. That I was part of Craig's fraud. I didn't know Alan. I didn't respond right away." I watched her. Her fingers were shaking, clasped in her lap like she was holding something together. "You changed the locks on me," I said finally. "Told me I didn't have a home anymore." "That wasn't me," she whispered. "Craig took my phone. He sent that I blinked." "You expect me to believe that?" She nodded once. "I was scared. He said you were going to sue us, take Maddie away, that you were unstable." Her voice cracked. I believed him. I shook my head, jaw tight. You stopped believing me a long time ago. You stopped trusting me. Your husband. Maddie's father. She looked away. I didn't want to lose everything. The house. Maddie's future. Craig made it sound like you were the one holding us back. He told me if I didn't sign the papers, he'd pull out of the business and we'd go bankrupt. Harold opened the folder, pulled out the forged will, the shell company documents, and the tax filings with her signature. Did you even read these? He asked. She stared at them like they might catch fire. I just signed whatever Craig put in front of me. I trusted him. He said it was standard. He used your name, I said. Not just mine. You let him erase everything I built. I know. Her voice broke completely now. And I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want to help fix it. Harold slid a notepad across the table. The feds want statements, depositions, everything. If we're going to stop Craig, it has to be both of you. She nodded. Okay. I sat back, arms crossed. I'm not doing this for you. I know. I'm doing this for my dad. For the name you helped him trash, Marie didn't argue. For a second, it was quiet. Just the low hum of the desk fan and the ticking of the old wall clock. I've lost everything too, Alan, she said softly. The house, the money, it's all frozen. Craig's accounts are under review. My name's on everything. The feds think I helped him. I didn't. But I might still go down with him. I stared at her. After everything she'd done, I should have felt nothing. But there was a weight behind her words. Not guilt, shame, finally. If you really want to fix it, I said, standing, then stop pretending you didn't know who he was. You knew. You just didn't care until it all came crashing down. She didn't deny it. Harold nodded toward the documents. We'll start with timelines, communications, bank access. Then your testimony, Alan. I grabbed the pen, signed where he told me. Marie followed, slower, like her hand didn't want to cooperate. As we left the room, she stopped me at the door. If you ever want to see Maddie, I won't stop you. I didn't say anything back, just gave her a long look and walked out. That signature on the paperwork wasn't just a name. It was the first nail in Craig's coffin. The courtroom smelled like old carpet and nerves. I sat behind the witness stand in a borrowed suit and a pair of scuffed dress shoes that pinched my toes. The moment the bailiff called my name, everything inside me locked up. But I stood anyway. I gave them everything I had. Dates, documents, job logs, tax filings, the backup files Harold and I scraped together. Even an old voicemail Craig left years ago that I had forgotten about. Him laughing, talking about cleaning house and cutting the dead weight. The prosecutor played it in court. The jury just stared at the screen like they were watching a snake talk. Marie testified next. Her voice cracked halfway through, but she held steady. She admitted she didn't read the contracts, didn't ask questions, said she trusted her brother more than her own husband and that it cost her everything. Her honesty landed. You could see the jury lean in a little, sympathy creeping in, even if they weren't sure she deserved it. Craig sat there the whole time like he was waiting for an oil change. Hair slicked back, navy suit, not a twitch on his face. When his lawyer started, it was like watching some bad B-list legal drama. He called me bitter, said I was just a disgruntled ex-husband with a bruised ego, claimed I was exaggerating everything to get revenge, that I willingly signed over the business and just regretted it after the fact. But paper doesn't lie. We had emails, bank transfers, that forged will with the dead notary's stamp. We had Harold's testimony too, stone cold and detailed, laying out every shady move Craig made. And we weren't the only ones. 2 former investors showed up, both claiming they were fed falsified reports. One guy had lost $80,000. Another had mortgaged his house. By day 3, the jury didn't need convincing. They were just waiting for the final pieces. On the last day, I looked at Craig as the judge read the verdict. Guilty, on all counts. Craig didn't even blink, just stared straight ahead like the whole thing was beneath him. But me, I flinched, Not because of fear, because it felt like something cracked loose inside my chest. Like I could breathe again for the first time in years. Afterward, outside the courtroom, Marie walked up to me. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. "I can't undo what I did," she said. "But if you ever want to come see Maddie..." I nodded. Didn't say yes, didn't say no, just nodded. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. A week later, the state started seizing Craig's accounts. His tech firm was gutted, his assets frozen. The restitution process kicked in, slow, bureaucratic, but it was something. And then came the part that actually hit me. The court ruled that the business name, Ward and Son Repairs, was never properly transferred in the merger. The company was dead. But the name? It was mine again. Not just some sentimental detail. It meant my dad's legacy wasn't tied up in Craig's corruption anymore. They couldn't take that from me. I drove to the county clerk's office, filled out the paperwork myself, paid in cash. When the lady stamped the final page, I didn't say anything, just nodded and walked out. I didn't go celebrate, didn't grab a beer or call anyone. I just sat in the van outside the shop Greg still let me use and stared at the form in my hands. It wasn't about money, wasn't about revenge. It was about taking back what never should have been stolen. Marie had to live with the guilt. Craig had to rot behind bars. The paperwork was done, the trial was over, and Craig was in a cell. But that didn't mean I had a home. I didn't move back in with Marie. That ship had sunk, burned, and been buried in the ocean. I found a small one-bedroom above a barber shop in town. Smelled like aftershave and old linoleum, but it had a working shower, a stovetop, and enough space for my toolbox. That was all I needed. Greg and a couple of his guys helped me unload my gear. One of them even donated an old Milwaukee drill set that still worked fine. "You get back on your feet, just pay it forward," he said. That stuck with me. The first few weeks were quiet. A couple of small repair jobs trickled in from people who remembered my dad, or me, or both. Word started getting around that I was back in business, just smaller, leaner, and not taking any crap this time. I'd get home late, eat standing up by the sink, and pass out on a mattress on the floor. It wasn't glamorous, but for the first time in years, it felt like mine. Marie and Maddie ended up in a modest rental about 10 minutes away. One story, brown siding, tiny porch. She went back to work at the clinic, told me once over coffee that it was like waking up from a dream. "I was chasing something that didn't even feel real anymore," she said. Craig made it sound like we were building an empire, but all we were doing was burning bridges. I didn't say much to that. Just nodded and let her talk. Seeing Maddie again was harder. First few visits, she barely looked at me. Sat at the end of the booth during lunch like I was some stranger who just happened to know her favorite burger order. I didn't push. I just showed up. Every weekend, every school play, every awkward text message she actually answered. The third time we met, I brought her a mini toolkit. Nothing fancy, just something small to show I remembered what we used to do together. She didn't smile, but she took it. That was enough. Then came the apology. We were sitting in the bleachers at her school's fall concert. Marie was on one side of Maddie, I was on the other. It was quiet between us, just clapping and the screech of beginner violins. Then Marie leaned forward and looked Maddie straight in the eye. "Your dad tried," she said. "He tried harder than anyone." I didn't listen. That's on me. I froze. So did Maddie. She didn't say anything right then, but I saw her glance at me out of the corner of her eye. And the next weekend, she asked to come by my shop. We didn't talk much, just cleaned out old bins and reorganized cables. She asked what certain wires did. I explained, hands moving faster than my words. She listened. That became our thing. Saturdays, she'd swing by, help me sweep, hold the flashlight, ask questions. I kept it simple, nothing heavy, no big speeches, just tasks, just presence. Marie and I never talked about getting back together. We both knew that story had already hit its ending, but we co-parented without throwing grenades, and in our world, that was a win. Every now and then, she'd bring Maddie by early or stick around to talk about school events. She looked healthier, worn out, sure, but human again. One Sunday afternoon, Maddie helped me install a ceiling fan at an old client's house. Afterward, I bought her a milkshake. She turned to me in the truck and said, "I didn't believe them, when they said you gave up. I just didn't know what to think." I looked at her and said, "You don't have to believe everything people say. Just pay attention to who keeps showing up." She nodded and went back to her shake. 1 year later, I hung a new sign out front. Black letters on brushed steel. Ward and Son Repairs. Smaller shop. Half the size of what I used to run. No office manager, no fancy software, no corporate partners. Just me, my tools, and 2 kids from the trade school who actually wanted to learn something real. They called me Mr. Ward at first. I told him to knock that off right away. "Alan's fine, just don't drop my damn socket set again." We did house calls, AC tune-ups, hot water fixes, jobs I actually enjoyed, the kind that didn't drain the soul out of you. I trained them like my dad trained me. No shortcuts, respect the work, keep your word. For the first time in a long time, I slept through the night without waking up angry. Marie and I kept our distance. No drama, just polite handoffs in the school parking lot, text reminders about band concerts, occasional check-ins on report cards. She never tried to rewrite history. I never asked her to. Maddie came by most weekends. We didn't make a big deal of it. She'd walk in, grab a broom, and get to work. She liked organizing the bins, untangling cords, sweeping under the tool benches. Once I caught her tracing old wiring diagrams in the back with a pencil, lips moving while she read. I didn't say anything. Just let her be. Then one Saturday she showed up with a folded card in her hand. No envelope. Just held it out and said, "Made you something." I opened it. Inside was a crayon drawing, me and her, standing in front of the van, both of us holding wrenches. She'd drawn my shop in the background, and over the top, it said, "To Dad." My hero. I didn't cry, not then, just held it like it might tear if I breathed too hard. My fingers shook a little. I walked to the back wall, pinned it up next to an old photo of my dad in his overalls, and stepped back. That was my legacy. I didn't win by tearing anyone down. I didn't need a courtroom victory or some headline splashed across a news site. I got it by rebuilding, by showing up, by not quitting when the people closest to me expected me to. Craig could rot behind bars for all I cared. Let him sit there every day knowing the guy he tried to wipe out outlasted him. And Marie, she had to live with what she nearly destroyed, and what I still managed to save. I didn't need their house, didn't need their money, didn't need their idea of success. I just needed a place I could fix things again, and someone who saw the value in that.